for joining us.
Thank you very much. Again, my name's Aaron Modern, founder, CEO of Agogie. Just a little bit on my background. Prior to Agogie, I spent a career inside the marketing and digital realms where I built strategies and tactical plans for brands of all sizes to implement. And when I had my own agencies, we had a strong focus on a technology backbone into the digital world of advertising. Just a quick snippet on me. Agogie was a brainchild of mine coming out of a startup that we built an app to work out like a professional athlete on a daily basis. And like many inventions in the world, mine started in the shower. Some start in the bar on a napkin. Mine was in the shower. So I had the idea and I told my wife, I think I can put rubber bands in pants to increase athletic performance. And as she likes to say, sure you can, babe, until it costs too much and then you're already down the road. So I started down the pathway, never being in the apparel industry, and getting it created. So further ado, I'll show you what one it looks like. So it is an athleisure legging that has resistance bands built in. So we created a new category of clothing called resistance apparel, which is enabling our consumer to enhance their fitness goals or reach fitness goals simply by wearing our product lines. And as I was saying before, I developed this with professional athletes. So working with some NFL friends of mine through one of their trainers while we were doing the app, I saw them struggle with putting resistance on the body outside the gym in a very natural way. And when you train with other resistance products, it changes their form. So when they're running with a sled or they're using a Vertimax or something, they're changing their form to get that athletic training out of their body. And then on game day, they're not mentally set for the game because they have to remember what it was like to play their sport without being attached to something. And what our first product did was enable that athlete to train under resistance in a very natural way for their sport. And come game day, they didn't have to worry about that mental change of, oh my God, I have something attached or not attached to me. So they could do it completely in a natural perspective. So the very basic concept in our patent pending design is 100% natural resistance bands integrated into a moisture wicking fabric to make an athletic legging that helps you work out. Each pair of the pants actually has 8 resistance bands inside the product. 4 of the bands in each leg. So you have 2 bands coming down the front. They start at the hip and go to the right around the lower calf area, and then 2 in the back that go over glutes, hamstrings, and calves. What this does is when the pant actually is put onto the body, it activates the lower core, the lower back, your hip flexors, and all the smaller muscle groups along with the primary muscle groups inside the leg, creating strength training and muscles that typically don't get worked out, enabling somebody to become a faster in a performance perspective, but more functional as just a broad-based consumer. In this photo, the white lines indicate actually where the bands are placed inside the product. And being in a natural movement is very important to us. And we wanted to make sure the pant moved with the body and the muscle and the ligament lines correctly. So this is another photo. As you can see in the 2 photos, you can do any kind of muscle or movement pattern, and the pant actually stays conformed to your body through that natural movement. We've done multiple studies on the pants, and what we've learned is just by putting on the pants, the Agogie pants will increase fat burning. They will increase calorie burn. They will increase your cardio fitness. They will increase your muscle activity. And our customers say they're super comfortable to wear all day long. And in today's world, we're getting everything digitally. We're a digitally native brand. So we're all complete direct to consumer. We have one retailer in the world that sells it, and it's inside a very large training gym. And customers are coming back to us and showing us all kinds of different ways that they're using it. So they're wearing it all day long, especially with today's world where we're working from home. In this picture, actually, are 2 of our customers, Jill and JJ. They're both very busy professionals and in their personal life. and they're actually using the product to bridge the juggling act of now working from home all day long, having family obligations that now are all day long in your face and all together. So they're using it to actually stay fit in their just daily life. This is Maddie. She's actually a finance professional in New York City. She found our product on Instagram, did a review without us asking. She actually wears hers during her conference calls, when she goes walking around the city, running the store, just typical day-to-day activities. And we all live on Zoom, so you can have a really nice top on and then have pants on below. And this is kind of my story. So this is me in the picture mowing my lawn. In 2014, I severely injured my back, which resulted in a surgery in my L4, L5, and left S1 vertebrae in my back. Before that injury, I was running roughly 25 miles a week. Going into the surgery, my surgeon pretty much told me I was not going to be able to run post-surgery because the impact pain and pressure on my spine would probably result in more herniated disc. And as a runner at the time, it was a really hard mental setback. Post-surgery, post-rehab is when I thought of the product. We got the first production run into the United States, and I wore them every single day, 8 hours a day for 90 days straight. What happened to my body was I lost 15 pounds. I was able to run 2 miles without impact pain, and my glutes were solid as a rock. And so I started incorporating it into my everyday life. I wear them under jeans. I wear them under suit pants, mowing the lawn. I'm doing some deck construction at my house. I sometimes wear them during that. And my wife, is in the background. She's been a working at home professional for the last 5 years. So she's been living on technology for the entire time. She's been wearing them to just all day long to stay fit. She gets coffee, goes up and down the steps, conference calls, product comes up a lot in some calls. So it's just really intriguing to see the different usage. And given that we started in sport, I'll talk a little bit about the sport. As one of our trainers says internally in the company, in life, if you're comfortable, you're not growing. So you got to be uncomfortable and keep growing. And this is what the product helps with athletes. Athletes have always, by the time they hit a professional level, they have a PhD in the sport that they're in. They just have to. And they've been training their entire life. So they're not always training at the highest level during every training exercise. With the pants, they force you to train at the highest level possible to get the most out of your body. So this is a person in the picture is a USA rugby player. She's been wearing them for 3 years. Even when it's 100 degrees out, she'll be wearing them in her training sessions. Football, we have a lot of athletes every single year for the NFL Combine and other combines. Those athletes are using the product to enhance their performance outcomes. We've seen 40 times drops, broad-based jumps increase, vertical jumps increase, all by integrating the product into what they're already doing in their training system. So what we've found is regardless of movement, regardless of how you use the product, it will help in a fitness perspective. And all through their career, even when they're just out running around in a lovely little parka coat there. This is a unique case that we never really even thought about, but Caleb Smith, he's a professional rollerblader. He's been training with our product for about 2 years. And what he's noticed is it's enabled him to do his century rollerblades around the country. So doing 100 miles on rollerblades, and it's helped with muscle endurance for him. So his legs don't get as tired as fast. So he can actually push through the craziness of a 100-mile rollerblading event. This is one of our newer athletes we're working with. Her name's Sydney Collier. She's with the U.S. Paralympic riding team for the U.S. That's her service dog, Logan. She suffers from Wyburn-Mason syndrome, which causes arteries and veins to grow together. she's always had problems with traditional resistance bands, slipping, not being able to use them in place because of she has strokes a lot and she has a brace on her leg due to her medical conditions. What she's been enjoying with the Agogie is now she can actually get the benefits of resistance bands training even with her medical obstacles. And my last slide, I have just a little video. It has no sound and I can keep talking. And what the video is going to show you is just different use cases for the product. So even from walking the dog to kickboxing to running, CrossFit, weight training, exercise, yoga, speed training, casual running, taking out the trash, mowing the lawn, the product will incorporate into your lifestyle how you need it to. So you have the everyday athleisure wear the whole way up to the elite performance training athlete can wear the product. What I found is, showing a presentation like this and talking more openly about questions. So John, I would love questions from everybody. And real quick, here's my contact info and our Instagram accounts if you want to go check it out. And a saying my wife has, which is stop chasing butterflies when there's dragons to slay. It keeps us out of the weeds.
I love it. And thanks for sharing. And I'll unmute everyone on Zoom. And if you're on LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, if you have any questions, feel free to chat them and we'll get them answered. I'll kick it off. Can you talk? I mean, obviously you showed us all the great use cases for the product, and thank you so much for also sharing the overview. And I think that was very inspirational, and obviously it's amazing all the different ways. And it's so little time, I think too, right, that the company's been around to show so much diversity and who your customers are and how they're using it. Could you talk to us a little bit more about your marketing strategy and your digital strategy? Because obviously I know that when we talked a couple months ago, you have a very interesting angle on that.
So yeah, we are completely direct to consumer. Most of our go-to-market is, you would think it's pretty digital. However, what we have found is merging traditional and digital together has been the most effective. So the world we live in, people love influencers and media stars and that type of thing. And we've been able to use some influencers to kick off some online abilities. We track everything on our site through pixels for building audiences and other things. So we actually have found traditional daytime TV shows drive the right consumer to our site, followed up by some other stuff that our publicist gets us into for online reviews. That's followed up by a ton of paid advertising on every social platform that you can think of. And we've gotten so targeted with our ads that on an average, we're returning $5 for every buck spent. And on some months, we're getting $8 to $12 return. It's really, really intriguing using the analytics that we're using to target our consumer when the typical return on ad spends $2.87. So we really took a larger company perspective as a very small company that we are. We have data analytic division that all they do is run analytics on Tableau for us to visualize it, Data Studio, and we take that knowledge and then we retarget through digital means. Even if it's a digital article, we're looking for sites that we can get reviews and other things on all through that data. So we've been very, for a small, startup brand, we're very innovative on how we're getting to that consumer and getting the return on the ad spend that we need.
Which platform is most effective for you?
It's still Facebook and Instagram for us based on the consumer profile. We're doing some early work with TikTok, and then we've done some stuff with Pinterest and Google. And there's a couple other newer platforms that have a couple million or less users on it that we're starting to do some more content driven kind of endorsements versus paid ads.
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you mind, sharing with us the makeup of your team? Because, I know when we talked, that was also fascinating. I don't necessarily think it's the traditional makeup that one would assume, given an apparel retailer, apparel brand. But if you don't mind just sharing that with us as well.
Sure. So obviously, I was never in the apparel industry, digital marketer. We have a gentleman, Zach Bellew. His background is best described as ground and pound cold calling sales in the packaged consumer industry. And he's really taken over the distribution side of the company and working with some of the influencers. And we have a gentleman, Alex Klinman. His background was collegiate athlete, went into medical sales, selling orthopedic devices to surgeons, has a love of sport, obviously. Karen Leaker, she's a lifelong marketer, came out of non-sexy business of healthcare marketing. And some of our analytic team is made up of some Washington University interns that they're super smart. They know what they're doing. And then we have a trainer, Myron Flowers, out of Maryland, that really helped us go through the sports side of it. So for the most part, no one in the company has a background in apparel, fashion, and it's really all been driven by sales, marketing, understanding brand development. We do have advisors on the company that have worked for 20 plus years in companies like Nike and Reebok and Adidas or Adidas and some other fun brands like that. So we do get a lot of industry knowledge passed along from those ex-executives.
Thank you. Could you also talk to us about, you had mentioned to me when we had first connected about St. Louis and geographically how you believe that St. Louis is just the best geographic location for a company like yours. Do you mind just talking about that? I thought that was a very interesting perspective.
Oh, absolutely. So for most people, St. Louis is flyover country. We all understand that in St. Louis, that's usually the national perspective of our city. For a direct-to-consumer company that's all digitally native and can operate anywhere, the best thing about St. Louis is it's in the middle of the country. We have some of the best shipping rates in the country because we can go anywhere within a 2-3 day max in the US perspective. We have a lot of land and we have a lot of warehouses that are inexpensive to rent, lease, and use. So outside of Nashville, it's one of the best cities in the US to operate a direct-to-consumer brand and stretch your capital the furthest that you possibly can.
I love it. Could you also share with us, your relationship with Kick Further and how that all works out?
Absolutely. Kick Further. I've known of them for quite a while. There's some metrics you do have to hit to work with them. Kick Further has made our inventory growth possible. Without somebody like Kick Further, it wouldn't be possible. As a startup brand, you're too new to get traditional financing. You're too new to get that line of credit that you need without putting a huge piece of collateral down. The loans you can get are high interest. They're 15 to 25% plus interest on the money. Where companies like Kick Further, the way they operate, there is some interest that you're paying on the money. However, it enables you to quickly get the money into the inventory system. So I think 2 weeks ago, we did a fund with them and they funded $57,000 in 10 minutes flat. There was 3 other companies at the time that launched with us for that day. It was roughly about a $300,000 total launch day for them. And they were all funded within 15 minutes. And it's direct to consumer early brands without companies like Kick Further will just die on the vine because it's such a cash heavy business to start.
Yeah. If anyone has any questions, obviously feel free to chat them or unmute yourself. Could you talk to us about, you had mentioned this to me as well, about the evolution of your brand? I know when we first talked, it was obviously the utility of it, the technicality of it, and there's some aspiration there of becoming more of a quote unquote lifestyle brand, fashion brand. I think it's already there. Could you just talk about that evolution to you and what it means for the brand?
Absolutely. So the evolution, just so you have a time frame perspective, the idea for the brand was in mid 2016. Our first product was in the market in February of 17. That we're now on the 4th generation of the product, which is actually the 25th design of the product. And the first product was completely a utility product for professional and wanting to be a professional athlete. So we strictly sold to sport teams, individual athletes. And what we were learning during that was we had college athletes saying they would wear them to the club and they would go out and do things in them. And we're like, wow, there's this broad-based market that we really didn't dive into. So in mid 2018, we launched an Indiegogo campaign, and we ended up doing almost $100,000 in that campaign, which put us in the top 5% of Indiegogo campaigns on a statistical basis. And what came out of that was a broad-based consumer drive for the brand. And it went from this utility, oh, that's neat that it could, make you a faster athlete, to, hey, I can go to the grocery store and get muscle activation and, burn fat and increase calories. And what really happened with that Indiegogo campaign really changed the trajectory of the company, because it took our consumer shift a different way. And out of that, associate producer from the Rachel Ray show reached out to us and said, hey, do you want to be on national TV? We were like, yeah. And so we ended up in 2019 on the Rachel Ray show, 30-second spot. We did more revenue in those 3 days than we did the entire previous last year. And it really shifted that from, oh, we're a sport technical brand, to broad-based consumers using it. And we just kept really going down the pathway through 2019 on getting into that broad-based consumer. And kind of where we fell is our number one consumer is a 45 to 64-year-old woman that is wanting to wear it in an everyday lifestyle perspective to help with all the things that the product helps with. Fast forward to January 2020, our publicist was able to get us on Tamron Hall. In that one day, we did more sales than we did the previous year. And then it's just been growing and growing. And we have some international expansion that happens next year. And so we've been able to go from that technical sport speed product to everyday use in a very, very short amount of time.
Amazing. So Mike's got a question here. Thanks, Mike, for your question. Regarding your use of Tableau, are there any other external data sources that you analyze data off of, or are you just visualizing internal data exclusively? If it's just internal, are there any external data that you would love to plug into your Tableau visualizations?
So we've pulled a fair amount of external information around weather patterns, around economic data. We've pulled in some social data on connectivity and social graph, so we can run it against our consumer profiles. One, to understand who and why they follow them, where they fall potentially in an economic perspective, interest perspective. We do pull in a fair amount of external to run along our internal data for sure. And we visualize it and we look at it weekly. And I think the other thing that we do that I know a lot of companies I used to help with, or that I know now in the startup world, is we manage our ads on all our platforms on a daily basis, where I know a lot of digital agencies set it and forget it for 30 days. And in 30 days, you can waste a godly amount of money and not understand why those ads failed. So we actually look at them 3 times a day. We switch them up. And that's really the main reason we get the ROAS that we get, is we take the data that we're learning from, pile it onto everyday management of our ad assets.
It's fascinating. I saw that you did a pop-up, I think a year or two ago. Is that right? You had mentioned another retailer. Yeah.
So Strivers is the pop-up you're talking about. And Strivers is a new retail environment. It's in a facility called the St. James in Springfield, Virginia. And to say this St. James is just a workout facility would be underselling it. This facility is a 400,000 square foot facility.
Oh, wow.
Indoor football field holds 3,000 spectators. Team Durant, Kevin Durant's basketball team, they train there. DC United trains there. They have a high performance area. They have a broad-based consumer gym. They have a therapeutic center, a spa center, 2 Olympic pools, if I remember right, 2 NHL regulated size ice rinks, and Strivers is inside there, and they have been our only brick and mortar retailer selling our product. Everything else has been through digital partnerships where we live on other digital assets, or direct with our own brand.
And how are you thinking about that for the future? I know we're in this unique time during COVID, but how are you thinking about that?
COVID's done, I think, a lot to the retail environments in general. Many of my advisors that have been in that space before, they all believe that retail is going to shrink, footprint wise, go more digital, more unique, more pop-ups. And, we will probably follow some of those trends as we bring out new colorways and new products. We will probably do pop-ups and things in smaller environments. I don't know if we'll ever have an actual Agogie retail. That's too early for us to say. With our international expansion, it's all digital. It's all backbone by a very large distribution type of company. So for us to scale quickly and get it into more consumer hands, it would be a poor investment of ours to go into retail in the current world that we live in.
Sure. What new product lines are you envisioning for the future? I know you mentioned this is like the fourth generation.
Yeah. So the next product, and it comes out next year, is resistance shirts. So we have a shirt for upper body, core, and then a upper body and core together shirt. That will be the second line that comes out. In all, we have 9 resistance lines that will come out of the product.
That's pretty cool.
It's been a lot of fun to create a new category. A lot of consumer education, as you can imagine, goes into it. Collecting user content. We have one person that all they do is reach out to customers and see if we can get video or picture content from them. Things all large brands do. We're just doing it on a skeleton crew and making it work.
Yeah, no, it's obviously very impressive, and I actually I know the top banner of your website where you could actually see the stories, the Instagram stories, and the Instagram stories are basically your customers using your product and them displaying all the different ways that they're using it, which I thought was very smart and obviously very on trend when it comes to how people are engaging on social media.
Thank you. And kind of the next thing that we're working on from a consumer perspective is the brand experience when you get our package. So everything's mailed, the product, the boxes get beat up in the mail. most consumers are now just used to getting a brown box that has a lovely piece of tape on it because they order everything online now. So we just got the sample today, and basically when you open it up, it's bright white. There's words of inspiration on it. There's a really awesome card that says you've joined the resistance. So we just want that brand experience. So when somebody gets the product, there's an aspirational side to the product. And I'll kind of go a little deeper on the brand, talking about the consumer experience. So Agogie is based on the word Agogie, and Agogie was the way that Greek society reared and brought up their children. And if you go even deeper, it was the way that all Spartan men were trained 2 to 21 in every aspect of life, from communication to military and warrior training. So we have a deep appreciation for always be learning, always be getting better. And that's just our mindset. You can always learn something new.
I love it. I love that. I didn't realize that, but that sounds amazing. Any more questions from anyone? You can unmute yourself on the Zoom, or you can just chat. From LinkedIn, we have Richard, who is basically just saying thank you very much for sharing your inspirational story with us. So not necessarily a comment, more of a not necessarily a question, more of a comment.
I'm sorry, I was unsharing my screen. I didn't hear the whole thing. Could you repeat it for me, John?
Yeah, sure. I was just saying we've got Richard Wallen from LinkedIn, just not necessarily asking a question, more just making a comment saying thank you very much for sharing your inspirational story with us.
Awesome. Thank you, Richard. I'll kind of give you another personal side of Aaron's drive. Is when I graduated high school, I grew up in a lower income family, and it was the first time my parents could buy a house, and the house construction was being delayed by months. The rent, the house they were renting, their rent was up. Somebody else was taking it over, and we couldn't afford to get like a short-term apartment. So my parents and I lived in a tent for 3 months. And if you ever want a humbling experience that will always put fire in your belly to drive to be successful, go live in a tent during August, September in Missouri when it's hot and sticky and just it's not fun. It gave me a new appreciation of being humble, right? You nothing can really push you down after an experience like that, and then you just have a drive that just comes out of you.
Well, look, Aaron, thank you so much for sharing that, and that's extremely inspirational, and I definitely can see how everything that you showed us is just a reflection on that. And look, I think this was an amazing presentation. Thank you again for joining us. And this presentation, Aaron's contact information will all be found on WindowsWear on the same exact link that you joined us with. And thank you again. And we look forward to sharing more about your journey and doing anything that we can to help you continue the success of what you've built. Thank you, John. It's been a pleasure. I always obviously love talking about Agogie and my experience in life. So thank you. It's a super, super appreciated. Thank you again. Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Have a good day. Bye. Bye.